Hey guys, yeah, if y'all want to get them scholarships and know all the good and right things to do, y'all need to go ahead and get plugged in right now. So welcome to ETTGYA. This is Texas Track Dad. I am back. Before we get started, what you need to do is go to our YouTube page. I need you to smash that subscribe button. All right, go ahead and join the game. All right, so today we're going to talk to Coach Wickard. I'm going to introduce. Well, he did a lot of introducing, but we're going to do even more before we get started. He'll let you know who he is. So he's joining me today, and we're going to talk about recruiting. All right. First, we got a few things going on. I want to shout out to TTFCA. So, guys, they have a winter clinic coming up. It's going to be January 7th through the 8th. It's going to be a 2-day event. It's going to be at the Great Wolf Lodge. All right. It's going to be in Grapevine. Also, if you use 2022 track, you'll get a discounted room rate as well. All right. So all the coaches, if y'all trying to get score, if y'all trying to sharpen up those coaching skills, go ahead and check out that TTFCA. All right. That's right. That's right. Also, guys, we have the San Antonio Swift. They have a elite sprint development camp. It's going to be powered by Fast U. So go check that out. You can go to sanantonioswift.com. Registration had already started, so you can go on there. You can get you some more info, all right? And we're going to bring in Mr. Wickard right now. There he is. All right. All right, Coach, just tell us a little bit about yourself. We're going to talk recruiting today.
Yeah, so I've spent the last basically 14 years coaching at the Division I level, from mid-major to Power 5 to even a Division II school, and was a former college hurdler myself. So I've been around the block a couple times, been around some amazing coaches and programs, especially when it comes to recruiting. And sort of my goal now in the private sector is to come in and sort of peel back the curtain to the business side of recruiting, of what conversations take place behind those closed doors that parents don't hear, that club coaches, high school coaches don't hear, and sort of the realities of the business side that takes place with frustrations that parents have when it comes to official visits, to national letters of intent. To high school and club coaches talking about, well, what about going to get the development kids? Those kind of conversations, to, just the logistics of how do I get spotted as a prospect? What kind of emails do I send out? How's my social media? What do coaches look for? There's so much to it. And so, now I'm in the private sector doing sprints and hurdles for 9 to 18-year-olds for all sports, but also track and field. And now I'm adding in the college recruiting mentorship academy to high school coaches and club coaches and parents. And basically it's mentoring them through the process of, hey, do these kind of things to help give them the power and the tools to be successful in the recruiting process.
Good deal. Good deal. So I was on Facebook earlier in the national group, and this question popped up. Um, can you It says my daughter is sorting out recruiting emails to yes, maybe, no pals. She has interest from all levels, D1, NIA. Can anyone attest to any really good D3 NAIA programs so she doesn't exclude a possible good opportunity? She's a distant runner. And that's from Afia James Gibbs.
So
What you
Miss
think about
Gibbs,
that?
yeah, I think that's really good. That's a parent that is knowing that, hey, I can't have a D1 or bust mentality. Like the post that I did earlier. I mean, there is, if you just do D1, you are basically excluding yourself from over 1,000 different other schools, track programs in the country. And so you're really limiting yourself, and especially with, less than 2% of high school kids get any kind of scholarship, you're just limiting yourself even more, especially if you're not one of the top kids in the country. It makes it even harder. So, I think you definitely explore all options. And when it comes to Division 3, know that they don't do athletic scholarships. It's going to be more merit-based aid. So they don't do athletic scholarship. They do merit-based aid. So it's going to be based off of your academics, your test scores, your GPA. It's going to be also off of financial need and other factors that each D3 university will go through. And so just be aware of that. NAI, obviously they have scholarships as well. But the best thing is, go on to TIFRIS, look up NAI national championships, look up D3 national championships, and just start looking at what teams finished in the top 5. Start back from 2001, go back to 2000, 2019, and just look at what are the top 10 teams that are constantly in the top 10 every year. And then, start from there with those D3 and NAI and see what their performance marks are through what's called TIFRIS. And you'll be able to see what their performances are in your daughter's events for distance, So that's a great place to start. Obviously it's a lot, but it's a legwork that's got to be done.
Nice, Coach. Great answer. So let's jump into some of your slides. And of course, I have a couple of questions. As always,
Yep.
with my
I love it.
the expertise. All right. This first one you have says D1 or bust.
Yep. So I'll give you a little thing in that. And I know NAI Division 2 junior college to D2 to D3, when they see stuff like this, they clap. Because coming from my chair of sitting as a college coach, I will say that the D1 buster mentality is a real thing. It's legit. From parents to club coaches to high school coaches to even the kids' network of friends as well. It's all about, hey, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go Power 5. I'm going to this big conference. So it's true. But again, that's why I put on there on the chart is you look at how many universities are in each division. And like I said earlier, if you just do D1, hey, all I'm going is D1. Okay, you're missing a big amount of schools that could offer you a possible scholarship. And sitting in a college coach's position, I always heard this. It's about the money. Got to get that full. Got to get that full. Well, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. That is a cop-out. That is not true. Because if it was true, people wouldn't be choosing schools based off of the name, based off of the gear, based off of facilities, based off of other things. And because if a school gave you a full, and that's the goal, but yet you're choosing a school that's not giving you a full, then you sort of got to ask yourself, is that really the thing here? You know, so, and there's many, and you've seen it at Olympics and stuff. If you're good and you got the right coach, you're going to be good.
Yeah.
And stuff. I mean, there's people that have made it to the Olympics that came from a junior college and D3. I mean, if you have the abilities with the right coach, the right guidance, right mentorship, then it doesn't matter, you know. And then I sort of tie into this, if we really think about it, adults will be able to say this. Kids don't know yet. But as adults, how many have asked us, hey, I'm sorry, we're not hiring you because you didn't go to a Power 5 school? They don't care where you went. As long as you have your undergrad and your degree and you have a good interview and bring a good work experience, you're probably going to get hired by that employee that you're interviewing for. So a degree overall, if it's education to teaching to journalism to, you know, social studies to history to math, I mean, you're English, you're going to get a job regardless. And then someone's not going to say, oh, you went to a D3 or any I college. Sorry, we can't hire you. That's not the case. So the D1 or bust mentality is all driven by the athletics, the accolades of schools, to gear, to traveling, to the glitz and the glamour.
And coach, you have to throw in the parents too, right?
Yep.
You have to throw in the parents, wanting, for one, they want the best for their kids, but there is a reality too, right?
Correct.
They might not be where they're at now. Maybe they can get in a good D2 school because there's some great coaches there. Some great coaches in D3. It's some great coaches in NAIA. You just have to do your research, but you need to know your child's status and where they fit, amongst, athletes their age. You can't tell your kid, hey, because you ask any kid, 3 schools off the top of their head where they want to go to. A&M, Texas, LSU. Every single time.
In Oregon.
Every single time,
Yep. Yeah. And it's true, and so that's why it's important to be well informed and educated. And that's, why I want to start changing the landscape of true mentorship and stuff. I'll throw this little caveat out here, which is going to surprise some people. But in my 14 years of college coaching, I've maybe talked to about 4 kids that have came through a recruiting service. 4. That's it. The rest, junk mail, don't even get looked at or deleted.
Wow.
Now that's D1. Now, depending on where you're at, other NAI, D3, those are probably going to be a little bit different. But from where I was at, no. We didn't even look at it. It was a waste. Because none of the kids that were in there matched the performance standards to even be considered recruited. So
do you think it's the job? I know good coaches, they'll, for the most part, be honest, and tell the kids, hey, you need to go here. Do you think that kid is then going home, talking to the parent, and the parent's like, no, we need to focus on higher school? Do you think it's something that is going on?
I think there's a lot of it. I mean, we've seen football. I mean, players pretend that they signed with a university, and the football program's like, I don't even know who this kid is. But yet their national signing day, they're saying they're going to this school, and they're like, yeah, you've never got a scholarship from there. So I think it just depends on the family dynamics of that the kid is in. But then the other thing is, to be honest, in my time, parents are involved, but in my opinion, they need to be more heavily involved. There's a lot of parents that are really good at being involved and stuff. And then there's a lot of parents that are like, hey, it's my son or daughter's choice, and I'm just here to support. And the kids maybe not going back and talking to the parent and what I shared with them. So as a college coach, what I always did is I always talk to both of the prospect and the parent together. But then if the parent wasn't on the call, I made sure that I was able to talk to mom or dad and tell them, hey, did your son or daughter talk to you? What did they share with you? And then like, okay, yes, that's correct. Or like, man, they missed some important things that we talked about. And now I'm telling the parents. So, parents definitely, majority, I would say parents definitely have to be more involved. But again, they just don't know where to start. They don't even know how to go through the recruiting process, what to ask, what to do. And so they're sort of sitting there and they're hoping that the high school coach or the club coach can just guide them through. And then look back and like, oh crap, like I wish I'd have known now before I knew what took place.
Yeah, I agree. I agree most definitely. On that post I just took down, you had the kids that go to junior college, like I'm talking about top of the line junior college. Is it a high percentage of them going to D1 schools after 2 years from there?
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, there's if you're looking at NCAA Division I, there are certain standards they got to have after they get their 2 years out of the way. They got to have a certain GPA. They got to have certain classes that they had to make sure that it's completed. Science, math, a certain level of math. Because they got to be able to transfer in already meeting the NCAA eligibility towards their academic progress at graduation. So it definitely, there's a lot and stuff, but there is also a lot of junior college kids that they go to junior college because their GPA was a 2.22, and so, I couldn't give you a percentage, but there's a good amount of kids that are junior college that are going D1. A very good amount. I mean, I recruited a lot of junior college kids, a lot, and a lot of them had the grades, and some of them didn't have the grades.
Yeah.
So it just really depends.
Cool. Yeah, and I think like I say, it depends on the kid too, on how much they want to work, to get where they need to be.
Yep.
Those of you on Instagram, if you want to get the full show, go to our Facebook page. We have the live show on there. Okay. So let's talk about this next slide here. College coaches. What is the top recruiting tool that exposes a prospect to you? So athletes posting a race on IG, that ain't gonna get it.
It helps. It's part of it. It does help.
Okay.
Putting stuff on your social media is very important. Because college coaches do watch social media. I mean, the majority of college coaches, the reason they're on social media is because that's where they're getting the instant contact information from the prospect. Because sometimes it's quicker going that way than emailing a high school coach or emailing a club coach and stuff. So college coaches are sending questionnaires to their house or to the school. But I can tell you right now, coming from a college coach, I know this happens for a fact. Some of those letters may never get in those kids' hands because that coach might be like, yeah, no, I don't like this school. I'm not even going to hand it to them. It happens. So they're going to do DMs on social media through Twitter, Facebook, not so much Facebook anymore, but Twitter and Instagram. I'm sure TikTok is now coming up in that as well. And so, yeah, they're going to look at all avenues. So even with this poll that I did, all those are factors. College coaches are all using all those to get information from a prospect. So all those are exposures for a high school kid to a college coach, and so they all play a part. But the biggest thing starts with, like it shows here, especially Division I, Division II. As you go down, it's maybe a little bit more of the high school coaches' emails or the prospects' personal emails to the college coaches. But the first thing is they're going to mile split, and they're going whoever it is. If it's sprints coach and hurdles coach, they're going in their event, and they starting from the top, and they're working their way down. I mean, I print them out, and I literally go, okay, Johnny, I'm sending a questionnaire, I'm sending an email of the coach, and I am DMing them, friend requesting them on social media. I'm getting there and I just keep going down the list until I get to the point where, their performances are not matching the recruiting standards of where I was at. So it's a factor of all of them.
Gotcha. So, what do you think about the recruiting apps? I know you have, I know CapU is out there, and the other one is it NSCA.
Yep.
That's out there. Now I didn't look. I looked at both of them, and they're actually they're decent. They're decent.
Yes.
They're decent. What's your thoughts on those?
I would say there's two of them out there. One of them I know was created by someone that I won't say because of NCAA rules, but it was created by someone that was a Division I coach with a friend, and they did a really good job. And I think it's really good. It's they're not trying to make money. It's literally they're trying their best to pair prospects up with college coaches. I think it's a good thing. However, like I said, prior to the poll that was just shown, still goes back to college coaches are going to DM, going to look at social media, going to email high school coaches, send out questionnaires, and they're going from the list and going to meets and stuff. And so will it help? Yes, I think it might help the lower tier kids, but the kids that are the higher tier, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to do anything, to be honest with you.
So the higher tier kids is one of those things where the coach is going to find them pretty much.
Oh yeah,
is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not like track and field. That's why track and field is amazing, because it's not objective. Your performances are your performances. I mean, that's the objective. Like, you're a 11 flat sprinter. You're a thrower. I mean, so your performances are going to speak. I mean, if you're up there, I mean, you open up the season, if you're a 800 meter kid and you run 151, oh, you're going to get attention. I mean, people are like, whoa, 151. If you're a female long jumper and you jump 16.1, you're going to get attention, but it's going to be from the other schools that maybe that kid is like, oh, I'm going to LSU. You're not going to LSU with 16.1.
Yeah.
So, so, and LSU is not even going to be looking at you, so it just really, it comes down to performances, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So should the parents, as far as making a list of schools, just say they're coming in as a freshman or whatever, should the parents make a list like, hey, these are schools I think you would be good at, or should they go to the kid and say, hey, I need you to make me a list of schools, then bring it to me and I'll look over it, then we'll start reaching out to them? What do you think about that?
I think the number one, you definitely make a list for sure, but how you go about that list. So like you said, like a freshman, I think it's good as a freshman to have a list, but then you always got to come back to it at the end of your freshman year and see what changes. Because as a freshman, those kids, they're not thinking of that. Maybe some of them are not even like, oh, I want to run college track. It's probably not until later. But however, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I think that list needs this. Number one, start with this. What school, regardless of scholarship, can we afford? Because, for example, let's say it's USC. USC's private school. It costs over $70,000 a year to go to school there. Same thing with SMU, you know? And so as a parent, you're like, yeah, we can't afford those schools unless their son or daughter their performance are good enough to possibly get a scholarship. Okay. And so I think the first thing is start with what schools can we afford if I was not running track? And then go with like, okay, what are those, what degrees, majors do they have that I'm interested in? You know, and then from there, I think you go like, okay, these are the schools that we can afford. Now, where are they at in comparison to where I'm at performance-wise on the team? And now you can be like, okay, well, am I considered to be possibly a scholarship, or is these performance considered as a walk-on? And then you can start going from there. And obviously that's why I say you got to come back to it every year, because as your performances change, some of those schools may be eliminated. Some of those schools now all of a sudden be like, ooh, like, hey, I'm running 11.5 now in the 100 for a female. Oh yeah, USC might be a possibility.
Gotcha.
You know, so it's just there's multiple factors. I think if you just start off of like, you know, hey, these are schools because they're name brand, I want to run for them, you're missing such a bigger picture that you have to consider.
As far as GPA, what you thinking? In 3.0 in the top 20 in the nation? Will they get that athlete in a D1 school?
Test scores is going to be the first thing.
Average.
Yeah. So I think it just depends on the situation. Okay, when you say 3.0, are you talking weighted or unweighted? So are you talking 3.0 just based off of their core classes? Okay, now we're good. Now, if that's a 3.0 putting in, you know, all their other classes, now their core GPA actually might be like a 2.7. You know, now
okay.
So, but now with the NCAA rules for this year for the class of 2022, you know, for the NCAA eligibility standpoint, they have thrown out the test scores. You know, you don't have to have the test scores now, but yet you still might have to have them for admissions for those schools.
Wait a minute.
See, man,
wait a minute, coach. Wait a minute. You can't slide that in there, and I don't say nothing about that. Please explain that to me right now.
Okay, so because of COVID, all right, and what things have happened with COVID, the NCAA put in a thing currently right now that to be NCAA eligible through the NCAA clearinghouse, you do not need an ACT and an SAT score. Okay, so it's going to go based off of your GPA and the core classes that you have. All right. So, however, a lot of kids go, oh, sweet, I don't have to take it. Nah, you still got to take it, because the college coaches are going to go, okay, that's just for the NCAA clearinghouse. Let's just say you're academically eligible to compete at college. That doesn't guarantee you that for admissions for X university. X university still might require the ACT, SAT to get into that college. So you're still going to have to take it. Now, coming into the following year of class of 2023, NCAA is probably going to go back and say, though that class, you still need to have the test scores to be academically eligible through the clearinghouse. So with the NCAA clearinghouse, you know, if it wasn't COVID right now, they go off of what's called a sliding scale. So they'll go off of your core GPA, which is your core classes, okay? And then they're going to go based off of if your core GPA is really, really high, let's say you're straight A, 4.0, your test score is not going to have to be that high.
Okay.
But if you have a very low GPA, let's say you have a 2.7 core GPA, your test score is going to have to be higher. So, and if you just go to the NCAA eligibility center or NCAA clearinghouse, you can find that sliding score, and that's going to change for Division One and Division Two. NAI is going to be in Division Three is going to be based off of the admissions requirements that university has. Okay, so there's a lot of different things that take place within that. So yeah, so that's why I can't give you a clear-cut answer of, the original question of, hey, if a kid is top 20 in the country and they got a 3.0, there's just so many factors that go into it and stuff. But majority, if everything academically clears out, they're probably going to be able to, get signed at a good university.
I get it. I have a question too. I know a lot of parents might. Parents, if you have questions, let's go ahead and comment and give them to Coach Wickard. I'm also on IG. If you got a question, go ahead and just put in the comments so we get to Coach Wickard. So athlete get a full ride to D1, top athlete, and they get injured.
Okay.
Is the scholarship still good? Does it void? If they're going to be out the whole next season, how would that work?
Great question. There's a lot of factors. Okay, but the overall answer is if they get hurt and it's athletically related injury, then
Not the Craig challenge, huh?
Yeah. If it's a crate challenge and you get hurt,
You definitely gone.
you're done.
Gotcha.
Depending on the school. Kids usually can finagle it, and some coaches are like, yeah, we're not really buying that. But yeah, if you get injured and it's athletic related, because of injury, they can't pull it. Same thing if a female gets pregnant, they can't pull it, but trust me, there's ways around it.
Gotcha.
There's ways around it, but to sit there and just say, oh, well, you got injured. Yeah, we're pulling it. It's not, you're going to be safe. A lot of coaches, majority of college coaches, it's about the kid. They're going to work with the kid. Even though it's a business, they're not going to instantly, oh, you're done. See you later. Because at the end of the day, it's about them graduating and getting their degree.
So, for the people who are coming in, I asked this question, and I'm just going to reiterate it. If your athlete don't go D1, it's not over.
No.
They work hard, they can get where they need to be. What are the odds for them going pro, Coach? 1% by the NFL, maybe?
1 in a million.
1 in a million?
I mean, and here's the thing, okay? You see a lot, and there's nothing wrong with it. I was one of them, okay? You have people out there that say, hey, I'm pro track athlete. You're not a pro track athlete unless you have a contract by a sponsor. Just because you have a sponsor through, and it's just gear, like shoes and things like that, you're not a pro track athlete. Pro track athlete is getting paid. And majority of pro track athletes, okay, I know one lady that made the Olympic team, and her contract was less than the average of a teacher's salary for the state of Texas. She was pro. She made the Olympic team.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a lot to it, and a lot of people, I know you said pro, and I'll give you a little insight of this. A lot of people don't understand, like, pro is not the same as a pro for baseball and for all the other team sports. Being a pro for track and field is completely different. One is if you do get a contract and they give you money, okay, they don't take taxes out of it. So it's the athlete's responsibility to take taxes out of their pay. Number two is if you have an agent, the agent is going to want 10 to 15% of your cut. So take that away. So let's say you get $100,000 contract. Okay, well, $100,000 contract, right? You got taxes. So 100,000, what does that put you in the tax bracket? 20% tax bracket. Take 20% off of that right away, because that's where you're gonna have to give Uncle Sam. And then your agent's gonna want a cut. Just go high end 15%. So now you're looking at a total of 35% of that 100K is off the board. Okay. So now, depending on where you're at, okay, you may have you living, got to eat, okay, massage therapy, to other resources that maybe you don't have, okay. If you don't stay with your college coach, then maybe you're going to one of Nike's coaches or one of Adidas or one of Puma's. Well, guess what? That coach is not going to coach you for free. So now you have to pay the coach on top of it. On that. And then kids get excited and they go, yes, I'm going overseas. I'm about to run. Woohoo. Agent says, yep, I'm sending you over to Doha to run in a Diamond League meet. Awesome. Got your flight, got your hotel, got transportation. You get there, let's say you get an appearance fee and you win. You have to pay taxes on that. Your agent then is going to take a cut of it. And then when you get there, all of a sudden you get a bill from the agent saying, here's the cost that you owe me for the plane ticket, hotel. It's not free. You got to pay it back.
Yeah.
So there's so much into it. People think like, oh, it's just I'm pro. And there's a lot to it. And there's a lot of kids on the pro that are working a full-time job and trying to make it.
So they have to juggle both.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Juggle both.
Yep. Yep. Mr. Cooper's got a question.
All right. He said, go ahead, coach.
He asked, so this is Mr. Cooper, which AKA I just talked to earlier today, which is about 2-hour conversation.
So cool.
Good. He said, are the times needed to attend colleges in the Midwest, up north and east the same as in the South? Can kids willing to get further away from Texas possibly get better opportunities? 100%. 100%. But I will say this. Always from Cali, stay in Cali. Same thing, kids in Texas. There are so many great schools here in Texas, especially depending on what it is. If it's distance, if it's throws, if it's jumps. Majority of sprinters are going to want to stay where it's warm. They're not going to want to go up to North Dakota and be in the snow. You know, I had friends that when I was at school at Utah State, that they never experienced snow. And literally their freshman year at Utah State, they're like, I got to get the heck out of here. No flipping way. But they had their school paid for it. They got their degree and they had a great experience and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it just comes down to what does a kid want? Is a kid willing to? Because if you have the performances and the marks, hey, if Idaho State calls you and they're giving you a full, but you ain't getting a full anywhere in the state of Texas or even getting any love, why wouldn't you go? Yeah. You know, I mean, because the reality is, you know, as a college coach, I always heard this, coach, my goal is to go pro. I want to be an Olympian. That's awesome. It's great. But it's this small of a percentage. So you got to look at the academics and what you're going to leave and how much debt you're going to have once you graduate. And how's that going to help you get a job? You know?
True. So, just want to let everybody know, Coach Coop, he want everybody to know Texas by 20. But, hey, Coach, so if a parent come to you if a parent call you tomorrow, said, "Hey, coach, I need you to help me with the recruiting process for my kid," what would your process? How would you? What direction would you point in?
Yeah. So what I currently do is just basically it's a mentorship. It's not recruiting. It's literally having the conversation that we're having, asking them questions. What do you want to accomplish? What is your goal? How much can you afford? Where are your marks? I have, which I'll say it right now, and you've probably seen it, but I got an amazing resource that I put together that I have all 30 Division I colleges, conferences, 8 years of data. And I could sit there and say, okay, you ran 10-6. These are all the conferences where your performance lines up that you're going to come in and be able to score and stuff. So, and I got that through all 21 events. Or, hey, it's going to take this to win, the Big Sky in this event. So I will sit there and I guide them through with regards to that. Hey, where's your GPA? Where's this? Okay, how are you doing your official visits? It's literally a mentorship of guiding them through, helping them find their questions and answer their questions. And having a resource, basically, it's sort of like this. Think of someone saying, hey, Elon Musk comes by and says, hey, I want to mentor you. I want to show you how I did things to get there. Who's going to turn that down? So it's sort of the same thing. If I'm a quarterback and Joe Montana or Tom Brady comes up and says, hey, I want to help you. You think I'm going to do it? Heck yeah. And so that's the same thing. That's why I say it's the college recruiting mentorship academy, because literally it's an educating mentorship guidance of class of, okay, what questions do you have? Okay, well, these are the things to think about and consider. And it's a no holds bar of, these are the truth. This is the facts, and a lot of parents, to be honest with you, and a lot of kids, they just want someone to do it for them. No. Not going to work. Because I can tell you from a college coach standpoint, the number one complaint is parents emailing the college coaches themselves and not hearing from the kid. So it's taking the responsibility. It's me giving them the tools. I'm the GPS saying, this is where you want to go. These are the stops. This is what we need to do. And they're directing it and basically driving the car. But if they're not willing to drive the car and do the work, then yeah, it's not going to work. But, I'll guide through in all questions and say, yeah, hey, look at this, look at that. I'll make my calls to coaches that I know and say, hey, I have this kid, and because I know it, I know what coaches not to call. I mean, if a kid runs 10-9, I'm not calling my boy at LSU. I mean, he's gonna be like, come on, Wick. You've been in the game. What are you doing? Why can't do anything with the 10-9 kid?
Yeah.
So yeah.
You got another question, Coach?
Yeah. So any advice for incoming high school freshmen? Yes. Academics. Go to.
Hey, hold on. Don't put them on a relay. But go ahead, Coach.
Yeah,
I had to throw that in there.
Yeah, that's good. That good.
Makes me mad.
Yeah, academics and coming in, know what the academic standards are to be academically eligible for the clearinghouse. That's the hugest thing, and sort of have an idea of, well, what schools. If I want to go Ivy League, what are the standards to get into an Ivy League school? So I think for a freshman, it is them understanding the academic process first. Who cares about performances? Because I'm going to be honest with you, as a college coach, and we had a conversation earlier, I don't care what they did their freshman year. I don't care what they did 7th grade year, 8th grade year. It comes down to their junior and senior year, And so freshman year, it's about academics. It's about, am I taking the right classes, the right core classes that are that are qualified by the NCAA clearinghouse. And that's what it has to go down to.
Yeah. If you go to our YouTube page, the link is in the description. It's in the title. You can go to the video Run Faster Now. It was myself, Coach Wickard, and Ryan. We hit on that a little bit as well. But Coach, I know IG cuts off in about an hour. We got probably about 15 minutes. Is there anything else you want to go in on or talk about recruiting?
I will throw this little gem out. When it comes to recruiting, you guide your destiny. So you take the bull by its horn and you do the hard work. So have your parents film your meets, quality film. Okay. Have them even come to a practice. If your coach is not filming practice, ask the coach, hey, is it okay that my parent comes and films practice? Or ask the coach. Get as much footage as you can. Put stuff on your Instagram, Twitter about you doing track and field. Because I can tell you right now, especially on the female side, guy side too. But if you're being recruited and there's nothing on your social media about track and field, number one question goes, does this kid really like track? Or is it something that they're just doing? And I've been in rooms where we have not recruited a kid or brought them on an official visit because we didn't like what we saw on their social media. You know, I know kids that have posted stuff on social media, Instagram Live, Facebook Live, college coaches jump in. I mean, we had a college coach jump in here today. And so if you're on there hooping and hollering, college coach goes into that live chat and they go, maybe not. So my biggest thing is remember what you like, what you comment gives a display of who you are. So if you're liking certain things, comments, coaches go, is this what you agree with? Is this your character? Is this your personality? Oh, I'm seeing pictures all about you and other things, you know. So pay attention to that big time.
Gotcha. We got another question, Coach. Facebook is going to still run, but if you're looking on IG, it's going to cut off in a little bit. But Facebook is still running. Coach, we got another question that just came up.
Cool. Ooh, got an Instagram. Okay. Any advice for a kid who hasn't hit the time they wanted to by the end of their junior year? Inbox me privately, Rio, since it's going to cut off and we can chat about that. So, but yeah, great question. I will say explore all options. Depending on where they're at, start looking at those schools where his performances or her performances match. Because college coaches, Power 5 stuff, they ain't going off of possibilities.
Yeah, if you're on IG, go to my Facebook page, Elite Texas Track Girls. The link is in the bio on IG. We're going to be live. Instagram may cut out. But, Coach, we have another question from – see right here?
Yep.
Pull it up. Is it good for a high school senior to do a lot of college visits before choosing school or not? I don't want to slaughter your name, so
Oli, I'm gonna say
that's
last name is
right
Oli. Now. Hopefully that's right.
Yes.
If that is right, give a thumbs up. If it's not, give me a thumbs down.
Yeah, we are sorry.
Laugh. I like it. So great question. So 2 fronts. One is depending on the level, if it's Division 1, you can only do 5 official visits. That's it. 5 official visits. That's all you can choose from. So if that's the case, then you got to be very, very selective in what official visits you're going to take. Now, unofficial visits, you can take as many as you want. So going into your senior year, that summer of your senior year, yeah, you can go all across the country if you can afford it, and go to whatever schools you want to explore and look at and things like that. So now I'll give you a little caveat. Let's say you're doing an unofficial where you're paying everything to go to look at things. Make sure you're doing the unofficial visit during a contact period. If you do it during a dead period and you go to that university, no college coach, okay, or athletic administrator will be able to talk to you because it's a dead period. So you're just going to be walking around campus and looking at facilities, going to admissions, going to, whatever department that you're interested in getting your degree. You can do all that, but you just wouldn't be able to talk to any of the college coaches or anyone in the athletic department because it's a dead period. So make sure you do your unofficial visits if you can during a contact period.
So, Coach, can you explain to the parents what dead period means?
So dead period basically means a college coach cannot do home visits. Okay. They can't do, they can't go to meets and evaluate a kid at a track meet. They can't go to practices. So go and visit them at their high school. They can't do any of that. Okay. Or they can't have official visits during a dead period as well. So no one can come to campus and interact with the athletes there or the college coaching staff. But during the dead period, however, the college coach can continue to call, send emails, send texts, and things like that. They just can't do anything face to face.
Gotcha. And I have a question for you too, Coach. Is it important? Do you think with freshmen that's coming in, parents have to sit down with them and let them know, hey, you're in the big leagues now. It ain't gonna be the same. It's not going to be the same. And you're gonna have to focus. You're gonna have to focus on your books. You're gonna have to work harder. But when you hit that high school, it's different. It is different. Do you think parents need to take their kids aside and say we need to have a plan? We need to have a plan for your ninth grade year.
Yeah. You have to have a plan. If you don't have a plan and you wait until something happens, you're going to be shocked. You're going to be like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. What the heck? So it's better to start as a freshman, put together a game plan, start looking. And this is the thing about the recruiting services. They're okay, but there's so much of the free stuff out there. You can get all your information from the NCAA website when it comes to academic standards, to what classes you got to have, to the NCAA sliding scale. It's just the whole thing is a lot of parents don't even know where to begin. And so that's where, to me, that's where the college recruiting mentorship academy, that's where I want to go into the high schools and team up with these high school coaches and help bring some of these educational things starting in consistently. How do you set up your social media? How do you send your emails? What kind of questions do you ask? How do official visits work? Hey, and you can go to the NCAA website and here's your sliding scale, here's your GPA. So yeah, it's definitely, you have to have a game plan. But again, it goes back to start with your high school coach, ask them, start with your club coach, ask them, and start getting help. And if you don't feel comfortable that you're getting it, then that's where, that's why they reach out to the recruiting services. And it's just so much money that you're like, okay. So I can tell you as a freshman, you don't need a recruiting service. You don't need it. Just focus on your academics. You don't need it. You don't need it, period, and stuff. So just know the academic standards as a freshman and know what schools, what programs match your degree. And then, hey, what performances are needed for my event at the schools that I'm looking at. And that's why I'm busy posting, working on the big, massive data that I am, because it's going to be all D2, all D3, NAI. It's going to be all their conferences for all 8 years. So
Cool. We have a question from Tyrone. How important are the major national meets like Adidas, Brooks, etc., to college coaches, head to head versus times?
yeah, so the national meets coaches, if it's not a dead period, coaches are definitely going. They're going to JOs, they're going to nationals. They are going to those meets for sure. One is to connect with the club coaches, connect with the kid, see the kid run. Because one thing is, yes, the coaches go off of their performances, but the biggest thing is, how do they run? How do they interact? How do they warm up? You know, they want to see that. And so yeah, they're going to those meets for sure. Now, as a college coach, I'm not going to those meets blinded. So I'm doing my research. I know who's already going to be there, the kids that I want to recruit and talk to. And I have a list of the kids' names. I have already contacted the coach. I am literally at meets DMing kids on social media. Hey, I just seen your race. I'd like to talk to you. Can I meet you and your coach at so and so location? Call them. Hey, so that's if a kid pops up that maybe wasn't on my radar of the list that I'm already bringing to those meets. So yeah, it's huge, and I think that's where club coaches, high school coaches are also informing the college coaches. Hey, this kid is going to go run at this meet. Is where are they at in your recruiting standards? Is there a possibility that we can meet at the hotel afterwards and talk after they're done competing racing? Like that's the other side that's just as important too.
Nice.
So
Yeah, you said thank you on that, coach, and we really appreciate you.
you're welcome.
Yeah, high school coaches. So Coach Wickard, are you doing like presentations going out to the high schools?
Yeah, so I'm trying to. I'm doing two current presentations. One for Tumble High School here in Texas through Zoom, and literally, it is not a cookie cutter. It's literally I'm sitting with the coaches saying, "What are the things you feel you're lacking in education? What are the things that parents are not understanding and getting? How can I come in and help you?" And then I take the presentation that fits them and I address those topics and areas, and then we're going to talk about it with the kids on Zoom. If it's in face to face, I'll do it face to face. I mean, I've already talking to Brandon about coming down to Austin and doing that and stuff. And then I'm doing another one at Westlake High School in Atlanta, Georgia and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it literally, it's not a, hey, let me come in and give you the generals that people somewhat know already. It's like, what are the things that you need help with? What are the educational things that are just going over the head of maybe themselves as a coach that need more help and understanding? Or, the parents and the athletes have no idea, because I'll be honest with you, like a lot of college coaches are honest, but they're not going to be brutally honest. Why? Because if they're brutally honest, some of these parents and coaching like, man, that coach is being a punk. And then that doesn't look good, which, so that's the thing that I like is I can come in, just pull off the prints, like, here are the facts. This is what it is.
Nice. All right, Coach. You got anything else? Is there any more questions or
I
anything?
don't. I mean,
Get off of here.
it's a huge thing. I mean, there's so many different avenues from a recruiting standpoint. I mean, we just touched on a little bit. I mean, we didn't even talk about what goes behind the doors of college coaches having recruiting meetings about kids and what are they looking at? How are they looking at it? What's the head coach saying to AD? I mean, a lot of like, we didn't cover this topic, and we can do it maybe later, but a lot of parents or maybe coaches get frustrated like, well, they have these standards, but there's no one on the team that has those standards. Well, why can't my son or daughter is better than anyone there on the roster? Why don't they take him? I mean, from the outside, if you don't understand what's taking place behind those doors, yeah, you're going to get frustrated. But if you understand why, I'm like, oh, okay, that sort of makes sense. Then you're just like, okay, we're not going to waste our time. We're going to move on, So there's so many things that play in a factor that hinder, a kid from getting a scholarship. I'll give you a little example. The AD might come in and look at the head coach and say, hey, for the women, you're being mandated that you got to put in 6 scholarships in cross country. So now I only have 12 scholarships to recruit for 21 events for track and field. The other thing is, if I'm an event coach, let's say I'm an event coach at a distance school, that distance might be a head coach, and he's going to go, hey, you have 1.5 scholarships to recruit for sprints and hurdles. And I'm requiring you, I want to see at least 4 or 5 kids every year that you sign. Well, I only have 1.5 scholarships. So I'm not going to go out there and be like, hey, I'm giving you a full, because now I only have half a scholarship to work to go get 4 more or 3 more kids. Those are a lot of things that people don't understand. And there's a lot of times where, trust me, college coaches are banging their heads on the wall going, oh my gosh. And giving a little tidbit is this one. College coach might say, okay, I'll give you that. You can go after that kid. Are you willing to hang your hat on that kid and say, yeah, that kid's going to do something? And if you say yes, that college coach, okay, I'm going to hold you to that. And guess what happens? If that kid doesn't pan out, college coach is going to get fired probably. So the more hats that the college coach hangs their head on a possibility, the higher risk of them possibly getting fired. So it comes down to, shoot, I ain't gonna get fired. I got a family to feed.
Yeah, we have another question too. Yeah, guys, if you got questions, get them in. Oh, this is a good one right here. This is a good one. This is from Terry. How important is it to a college coach if the athlete does not run for the high school? So they're pretty much running select. They're not running high school at all.
I will say this. If you're doing a good job of running select, so running indoor meets, going to meets and getting your times in and performances, same thing with outdoor, and your performances match, you're going to get noticed. But if it's developmental and they're underneath, it might be tough. Like, don't cut your nose off despite maybe a situation that's taken place. So I think it just really depends on the situation for each individual kid. I don't think it's a blanket statement of like, oh yeah, you don't need, because think about it. How many college coaches, I mean, shoot, I'll tell you, almost all college coaches are looking at state championships. I mean, if I was recruiting in Texas and they're like, oh, they're great. And I'm like, did you make state? Nope. Man, you couldn't even make state at Texas. I don't know. So it just depends on the situation.
Cool. Do you agree or disagree what Mario Kelly is saying? He's saying full scholarships or almost non-existent. Coaches can't fill a full roster, giving out full scholarships, all that. So basically, what he's saying is, full scholarships are they hard to come by, or they're
full scholarships are very, very hard to come by, and it's going to depend on the school. Okay, gotcha. So I'm just going to use this school for example. Let's say it's a private school, right, and it costs $70,000. The majority of those schools, depending on what they have from an academic aid and what other resources they can give a prospect besides athletic scholarship, is going to be a huge factor, because if that is very minimal, then basically that program is forced to over scholarship a kid of what they're worth. Why? Because if I come in and say, hey, I'm going to give you 50% at a private school and it costs 70, as a parent, you're like, that's still almost $40,000 I still got to pay. So it just depends on the school, and the program and situation and stuff. And you might not get a full at some, but it also depends on the environment. Females are going to have a highly likelihood of getting a full than males. And stuff.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're a 55-second quarter miler for a girl, you're going to get a full somewhere. And now it's not going to be at Texas, or a big Power 5. I mean, if you want a full Power 5, you'd be running 53. And that still might not get you a full. I mean, I know one program that's Power 5. There's no one on that roster that's on a full. No one. And they've won a national championship.
Really?
Yeah. So
Wow.
it just depends.
Wow.
It depends on how the program's built, how that coach is building that program. It depends on, so many different factors. I mean, there's a school in Florida. They can get some international kids because that university has things tied in with some international countries that are close to Florida. And so it's pretty cheap for them to get a kid international to come in. So there's just so many factors. It just depends. But in all actuality, statistical wise, the average scholarship amount through all track and fields is roughly around $18,000. That's it. That's it. Across
18,000? Really?
18,000. That's it. Average across the whole entire, like all NCAA spectrum.
So we talking yearly, right? 18 a year?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Coach Cooper, he said, hey, you better have them grades too, so you can get some academic scholarships to go with that track. That's a good point.
You better.
That's a good point.
Here's the first thing as a college coach. See the grade? I see the times. I'm like, oh yes. First thing. Can I have your unofficial transcripts? Can I have your test scores? And I'm sitting there going, please, please. And if they don't have them, dang, that stinks. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, guys, if y'all, let's see here. So y'all know I go to bed at 8 o'clock, right?
Yeah. We'll answer this one because we can go all night. So
let's go.
How important is it for a jumper to have a running event with jumping besides relays? If you're good and you're a jumper, you got speed. The more speed you can carry down the runway, the better you're going to be a jumper. Okay, triple jump's a little bit different. High jump, but majority of times though, if you're a jumper, you better be able to score in multiple events. If you're just a long jumper, you better be dang good to get a lot of money. Because I'll use this for example, jav or a high jumper or a pole vaulter. They can't do another event, especially javelin. They're not doing anything indoors for that college. And they're only doing one event outdoors. So why am I going to give a full to a jav when he can't do indoors or outdoors? You better score nationals. That's all I'm going to say. Better score. And I'm saying that because I've heard college coaches say that. Head coaches that have won national titles. They're like, shoot, I ain't giving a full to a jav thrower that's only one event. Same thing, pole vaulter. They can only do one event indoor and outdoor. If you're just pole vault. So yeah, jumpers, yeah. And you look back at the great jumpers that have been really good at nationals. They're able to be on a relay. They're able to do 100. Shoot, they can probably even do 4x4. It just depends. But yeah, you got to be versatile. The more versatile you can be, the better your stock is.
So are you saying the more points an athlete brings to the team, Do you think they're a better overall athlete? That
Yes.
Say that again, coach.
Yes.
I'm getting some messages tomorrow.
Yes. Yes. I'll put it this way. Okay. Before I went to college, I didn't know what club track was. Now it's all different. Okay. I never ran club track. Shoot, I worked during the summer. I was a kid. I still made it to Division 1. Still got my school paid for, and so yeah, I want to see all coaches want to see all around athlete. All around athlete. What other sports have you played? What have you done? Okay, because again, it goes back to other conversations. Sports specific at starting at age 6. Nah. Don't burn the kid out before it matters. So let them play different things. Let them be an all-around sport. That's one thing, like especially at the youth level for club track. I'll be honest with you. I think the United States does a crappy job in track and field for younger kids. They need to be multi-event kids. Throw them in any event. Throws, this, shot. Like, who to sit there and be like, oh, but they're 12. That's one thing the European countries do an amazing job with. I mean, we had a kid at TCU. He did the multis. He's a thrower. He did the multis. He sprinted. Another guy that was an Olympian for Jamaica. He's a thrower named Jason Morgan. He sprinted. He did hurdles when he was a young kid in Jamaica. So be an all-around athlete. Expose them to as many events as possible because you don't know where they're going at that young age. You don't know where they're gonna excel. And eventually as they grow, mature, you'll see like, ooh, they're probably gonna be here. But to sit there and like, oh yeah, hey, you're just expose them to all events. Until they get to high school. Expose them to all events before high school.
And Mario has a good question. I actually wrote down a question, something like this. He's asking, do you recruit kids differently that run in a private school versus a public school, or is it based on time? And we're going to have to do a show on private school or public school. All right, we'll do that. We'll talk about that later. But if you get what you think about that question he just asked?
So I'm assuming he's meaning private school is in the sense of high school. Like, let's just say here in Texas, like Jesuit high school compared to DeSoto high school.
Yes, correct.
Man, let me tell you, performances. If your performances are good, you'll get noticed. Doesn't matter. Now, we'll say this, though. Private schools, public schools, academics probably going to be a little bit stronger privately. So therefore, maybe the drive and demand in athletics is not as high. Okay. So the type of kids that come from a private school may not be as high as a kid that comes from a public school. So it just depends. But if a kid is good, they're good. They're going to get, the coach is going to notice them. And if anything, college coaches are like, ooh, they go to private. I bet you they got grades. They're salivating because like, ooh, great academic kid.
And you know what? And coach, here's my thing. UI and Mario, that's a good title. We probably gonna use that when we talk more about that.
It's the same. I will tell you this. I recruited a kid in the state of Texas. He's a TAPS kid. I saw everything in potential in him. I'm like, ooh, he's going to be good. Because college coaches will go off of performance, but they're also looking at how the kid runs. How the kid runs, how the kid moves, how they jump, everything. And so there might see a kid and like, ooh, but man, he's got something. And depending on what that kid they see, first question to me is, what's your training? What do you do? Because if the kid is tapped, and it means of coaching, like they're getting everything, Now I'm like, probably not. But if they go, man, they're not getting any coach, I'm like, oh, I got me a gem. And I'm going to do anything I possibly can to get him, And that's what happened to a kid that was at TAPS. He ran way better his freshman year in college than he did his junior and senior in high school. But I wasn't surprised. He's a TAPS kid.
Hey,
and he's going to be good. He's going to run under 20. He's going to run under 21 flat. I'll just say that. So if they go to the right school with the right coach that knows what they're doing, they're going to see progress if they do the right thing.
So Nasaya Williams, she's a jackrabbit. I believe she's at the Fort Worth Country Day.
Okay.
And you don't hear much, but hey, she ran like 11.6 last year at 100, low 24.
She's getting recruited.
I know. And what's crazy, you hear a lot. UIL is strong. It seems like you hear more about UIL, but the smart coaches, they in TAPS not saying nothing. I know it. But yeah, she's a wonderful. She's an amazing athlete, and I will say
to Mr. Cooper, I know exactly who you're talking about with that young lady, Beto, twin, right? Sisters. I tried to recruit them so hard. I heard nothing. Because why goes back to this. The school I was at, the two schools, like, nah.
Yep. Hey, Otto Wilson, Murphy. Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Everybody don't matter where you go.
If you're good, you will be found.
Yeah.
You will be found, because the number one thing at college coaches, no matter what, it's a lot more about recruiting than it is coaching. Because think about it. Recruiting, I was told this by a guy, I'll just say his name, Billy Maxwell. He's in the Track Hall of Fame. He's a guru. He told me this from day one. He said, Wick, remember this. You cannot turn a donkey into a racehorse. Racehorses make coaches look good. Then he turned around and said this. He was like, you're only as good as the coach of how well you can recruit. If you can't recruit, you're going to have a hard time. It comes back down to recruiting. So college coaches are going to turn over every possible rock they possibly can. And it's going to depend on the institution. But yeah, if you have it, they're going to find you. Now, kids do slip through the cracks because, hey, it is a small pool. It's still hard to get a scholarship. I've had kids that been on my team like, yeah, coach, I emailed you. I was like, oops, sorry. I didn't mean to not respond back, but I've been so busy, and the kid was on the program though. And he's ended up being really, really good, So yeah, there's going to be kids that's going to get through the cracks, and it's not off of, trust me, it's not because it's intentional at all.
Gotcha. Well, guys, if y'all have any more questions, we're going to probably more than likely in the show, but we'll be back for sure in a couple of weeks. I just want to give a couple of shout outs. But first, before I do that, Coach Wickard, tell everybody where they can find you on social media if they need some training or whatever, where they need to go to find you, Coach.
Yeah, so they can go to tier1athlete.com. That's my website. They can go there for information. They can go to Twitter at tier1athlete, or they can go to Instagram at tier1athlete_, or they just look up Facebook and find tier1athlete, or just type in Justin Wickard and find my personal page.
So. Nice. So I want to give a few shout outs. First, Coach Cooper, Brandon Cooper. Want to shout out Texas Torch, San Antonio Swift, Next Gen, TTFCA, and also Trackborn. So make sure y'all go to our YouTube page. I need you to smash that subscribe button as well. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, any social media. Just put in Texas Track Dad or Elite Texas Track Girls. All right. So guys, thanks for joining the show. And we're going to get out of here, and we're going to see y'all later. All right.
See you guys. Have a good one. Stay blessed.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Coach.
Bye.
All right.